I think about white people in many different contexts, and it's upsetting sometimes to think about how much whiteness invades my life and my mind, like my world.
I think deep down, a lot of people of color are scared of, afraid of white people, honestly. They're afraid of, they're not really understood, I guess, because I honestly can say, I look at white people and I think sometimes that I'm like, you're way too different from me. I can't like really gauge, you know, how you're thinking, you know, how you move. And so sometimes I get intimidated because like it's like a space of unknownness with them.
I'm angry at white people most of the time. Most of the time.
I know that when white people look at me, there's almost always a projection that's going on, even if they like me.
I don't like to talk about whiteness that much because I don't want to like create that category that's like being perpetuated all the time, like, which I know like can be problematic, but yeah, I don't want to give whiteness more power, so I don't want to be like, yeah, white people have all the power in the world.
I think the reason why we don't order white power people is because they are protected in a sense. No one wants to harm the innocent looking white girl, or no one wants to harm, even if they're in a context where they're angry and being as violent as the same person of color who's doing the same thing that they are, they're seen as more innocent.
I'm not gonna harm a white person, I'm not gonna murder a white person because I'm scared.
The closer to whiteness you are, the safer you become.
Part of my thinking though is also, why don't we kill more white people, is because it's not gonna solve any issues. It's not gonna solve the root of the issue. You know, we can kill all the white people, and there's, like we were just talking about, hella black and brown people have internalized whiteness. What we have to eradicate is whiteness. What, you know, this whole notion of white genocide, we don't want to kill white people. We want to kill whiteness.
When you see a white person, you're in fear automatically because they fear you.
I think about white people when I doubt myself, and I realize that I don't need to doubt myself like the way I am.
As people of color, I don't think that we have the same sense of loss to kill others as much at the same rate. I think that white people now have become, it's like just part of like whiteness to be abusive and violent.
As an emotional being, as a spiritual being, I think white folk aren't murdered in that capacity in the same ways that people of color are. And what I mean by that are the ways that people of color are murdered psychologically, right? Murdered in their character, in their expression of self, in their identity, in their language, right? People of color aren't always just physically murdered.
I don't think anyone deserves harm.
I don't think anyone deserves harm. I don't think white people deserve harm.
No, white people don't deserve harm. I think whiteness, maybe, the idea of like protecting whiteness should be definitely harmed and like destroyed.
I think if you're not supporting people of color and to end white supremacy and you're neutral, or you are that person that's perpetrating it, then you shouldn't, I think you deserve harm.
I think that harm is radical, but I think sometimes radical is needed.
And I think we're taught to think about violence in a certain way, that like, you don't want to be violent because that would make you look bad or something, or like make you and your community look bad. But whiteness is violence.
You hear about these marches and these things where these groups are getting attacked, and a lot of times they don't fight back because we know that it's going to be bad for us. And sometimes I feel like nonviolence is not the best route.
I'm white. I'm the color of the day.
We never see actions of harm as a matter of deserving or a choice for communities of color. It just happens. people just die, according to a lot of people. But it's a huge, huge, huge system that's not about deserving. It's just about what we've done actively to these communities.
In my heart, I want us to heal.
I'm angry at white people when I think of my parents.
Extrapolate.
Part of that healing needs to be recognizing violence. And part of that recognizing violence is understanding that that violence has been racialized. And understanding that that violence has been racialized is historically, again, I go to history because it's like really shapes how we even respond to all these kinds of situations on a day-to-day, like how the way that we interact, the way anybody interacts. It's like subconsciously always informed by this history. And we just respect white people more.
I think that we don't murder white people because there is a thought process around white is right.
I think a lot of white people think there's a test and that you can pass it. I think white people get frustrated when they're confronted with questions and problems about race, and it's framed in a way in which no one can get over it, which is the truth, right? Like, as long as you live in a racist society and you're like a member of the society, it doesn't make any logical sense that anyone can transcend it at a certain point. But I think white people, I don't think that clicks a lot of the time. I really do think white people think racism is a test, and if they study correctly and answer in a specific way, they shouldn't be held accountable anymore.
I think about white people all the time.
I guess when I say white people, I mean like capital W, capital P, white person. You're a white person. Like, not like you're like, I don't know. I guess, I don't know if it's like, if I'm falling into some trap even thinking this, but it's like, but I guess I feel it this way with certain people in my life. It's like there's white people and then there's like a white, like there's white people and there's people who are white. And I think like, I don't know if that's like some kind of trap. It's like I still know all those people benefit and like they're all have certain privileges above me and like they all like are considered more valuable than me.
I think white people are terrified of me. I'm not, for the most part, a fearful looking man, but I noticed that whenever I go somewhere and they cross the street.
I think white people look at me and they think about ways they can be like good white people, and not just like, not like kind white people or like white people that make your day better, but white people that like John Oliver won't complain about. You know?
I'm white. I'm the color of the day.
If someone points a finger at me, that thing could literally be a gun, you know, within 5 to 10 minutes. And I think that's a fear that people like us have lived in for a long time.
I would wake up in the morning, brush my teeth, start to do my hair, and immediately I was struck with, am I making myself presentable, approachable, welcoming in my work environment, right? Innately in waking up in the morning, my hair was already not right or not accepted. I was already wrong just for being. Then going into putting clothes on, figure out if it's appropriate or not for my workplace. Not because the clothes were inappropriate, but because my body may have different curves than others may be comfortable with. So already my body, my mind, my spirit has been inflicted before I've even left the fucking house.
You know, like you could be violent and through that perpetuate whiteness. You could not look at your whiteness and be perpetuating that violence. So like you can do nothing and still be violent.
Subconsciously, I think about white people all the time.
I think the insidious nature of whiteness begins at a very, very young age. And because of the historic tie that we have to white children as pure members of our society, we do not address the harm and the evil that they inherently bring to communities of color, to the school playground, to the classroom, to wherever they are. We don't address that because they're too young. And the criminalization and the ways that we adultify children of color at a disproportionate rate to white children is horrible.
With or without white people, man, you're a very, how do I say it, strong individual. People don't really see that. They don't understand it, but you're really a strong person.